What the stupidest argument you've ever gotten into? My wife and I got into a shouting match as to whose friend's wedding we would attend if they scheduled them for the same weekend. Neither was even engaged yet. Trick them into marrying each other. Problem solved. My wife and I got into a screaming match because our broccoli wasn't growing as well as we thought it should, and clearly it was the other person's fault. Our marriage, where the big things matter less and the little things are explosive. Honey, I got fired, that's okay, we'll work through this together. Honey, I moved the cereal to the left side of the pantry, are you freaking kidding me? The right side is clearly more easily accessible, I want a divorce. I was living with a buddy and we were getting on each other's nerves. One night we were arguing about whether to break spaghetti noodles in half. I finally said, you cook yours your way, broken, and I'll cook mine unbroken. He took half the spaghetti from the package and broken the noodles in half, put them in boiling water and started stirring, while I stood there with the package. Mostly we glared at each other, then he reminded me to add my half to the pot. After I did it, then he thought of something. How are we going to separate the long noodles from the short ones? Joke's on you. He's getting twice as many noodles. When I was 6, my friend and I stood facing each other, arguing about which hand was your left and which was your right. It took us about 5 minutes to realize that, when standing opposite someone, your left side is their right. I had an ex argue with me over which would weigh more, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers. We went back and forth forever while I tried to explain it to her. It did not help when her mother chimed in with, what about a pound of wet feathers? The apple does not fall far from the tree. Number. Her mother knew. What she did was toss a grenade into the conversation and walked away. Way back when I was a phone service advisor for a credit card company, this lady called in confused as heck about a piece of mail we had sent her. I don't understand why you sent me a bill. I paid for the TV at the store with my card. Yes, mom. Now this is a bill for using your credit card. But I used my credit card. Why would I have to pay again? This went on for about a good hour. This poor excuse for an adult believed that a credit card with just an all-access pass to buy anything you wanted for free. That was a devastating job. The arguments you have where someone is venting at you at something infuriating and you agree with them, but they are so mad that they want to argue with you about it, even though you agree with them and say yes throughout the conversation. That is like 80% of my conversations on Reddit. My friend once tried to argue that Token, the black character in South Park, was named as such because black people are stereotypically always toking on weed and crack. I argued that it was because he's the token black character. I'm pretty sure they specifically say this in at least one episode. Me and my friend are both smokers. We were talking to my other friend who wasn't. The non-smoking friend was saying how bad smoking is, etc. and that we should both quit, and my smoking friend was arguing that smoking wasn't bad for you at all and he had no reason to quit. Now at first I thought he was joking, but no, he was deadly serious, so I informed him he was wrong and that smoking does indeed kill people. He got angry, screamed that we were lying, then left and hasn't spoken to me since. This was like 6 years ago. Haha, that's the most sincere, hardcore form of denial I've heard in a while. Not me, but my parents. They got into an argument about a little bit of sauce getting wasted because it came out too fast. My dad got pissed off about it because he's just quit smoking, and they haven't spoken to each other for nearly 2 days now. My parents go on Reddit too, so I hope they see this and realize how stupid they're being. At the olive bars at grocery stores, you can buy these cherry peppers that are stuffed with prosciutto and cheese. Well, my dad and I love them things, and one day he bought a bunch of them. Through the course of the week, we ate them all, except one, which sat in the container for 3 days, uneaten. So, I ate it, and that's where I went wrong. 2 weeks went by before my dad would speak to me again, simply because I ate the last pepper before he did. Friend farts. Me. Did you just fart? Friend. No, I didn't. Me. Yes, you did. Friend. No, I didn't. You freaking liar. Silence. Only a horrible smell. He was the only one with me in that room, and he's known for lying. He didn't fart. He pooped himself. I once got in an argument with my roommate about who could raise the fastest duck. I was in a fraternity in college and a sorority on campus had invited us to participate in a rubber duck race fundraiser where the rubber ducks would float down a creek through campus and the person that bought the winning duck got a prize. Being the smartest I am, I asked the sorority president if I could enter a real duck. She didn't believe I would and said yeah sure, whatever Matman 88. Later that night my roommate and I got drunk and got in a heated debate over who could raise the faster duck. We woke up the next morning and headed to the nearest poultry farm where we each bought a duckling and raised it for the next month and a half. Their names were Cheese and Quackers. One day I came home to find all sorts of witchcraft spellbooks strewn about our counter. I asked him what they were and he opened one up, grabbed my duck and started cursing it. Apparently he had gone to a palm reader to seek advice. As a joke, we kept them in our fenced-in backyard and the day after he had cursed my duck a storm blew down part of our fence and our ducks escaped. I still blame the voodoo curse to this day. My duck, Quackers, easily would have won and he had to resort to consulting the great beyond to ruin the entire race for both of us. TLDR. I had the faster duck but was foiled by a curse. My friend was convinced selfish was pronounced shellfish. I wrote out the word out, sounded it out, and it was like I was saying the sun was blue. She just wouldn't have it. IDK if she was screwing with me. But 2-3 years after that whole argument we got in a different argument about her basically being a bee and she said sorry, I was being shellfish, I couldn't stay mad at that moron. My friend, I think you were the victim of a long con. That if you go on someone's property, you're their property. Needless to say he isn't very bright. He's locked up in my garage now. It's probably for the best. A woman I used to work with at a university got into an argument with me because she didn't believe that the different races of humans were, in fact, the same species. Her final argument? You're wrong. It's like whites and Native Americans are just like fish and dolphins. They're both in the ocean, but not the same species. Now do you get it? No, not really. And, not at all coincidentally, this was the worst group of co-workers I have ever had. Jane. It was about -40 outside in the winters. Bill. Celsius or Fahrenheit? Me. They are actually the same at -40. Jane. Really? Bill. No, they aren't. You're talking crap. Me. I'm 99% sure that they are the same at -40. Bill, I have a physics degree. You're an idiot. Bill then went on to reference my idiocy twice more over the course of the evening. Bill is a T. My cousin said that her laptop was overheating and making a buzzing sound. Her friend piped up and commented that it was most definitely a virus, and she should take it to Geek Squad to have it removed. I said no, it's not a virus. It's probably your fan. Your fan is messed up. It's probably just dusty. Try cleaning that out. Note, I am not an IT professional, but come on. This girl got righteously pee and told me that no, it was a virus. And she knows because she had the same issue with her laptop a few months ago and Geek Squad fixed it. This went back and forth for a bit with me insisting that a virus doesn't affect the fan function. It was literally a hardware issue. And she was talking to me like she couldn't believe how freaking stupid I was to not realize that a virus was making my cousin's laptop fan bog down. I finally explained to her how viruses work, and she stomped her foot like a child and exploded that IT's still a virus. The virus just deleted the file that runs the fan. I stare at her in disbelief. The file that runs the fan? What is that? Fan eggs? And she said finally, you get IT. She was so convinced that this was the case that my cousin, not noted for her critical thinking skills, believed her and said she'd just take the laptop in to have it checked and cleaned. Whatever. If you wanna pay out the boss to have some smug douche at Geek Squad fix your laptop, ain't my business. There's two kinds of people. People who never call tech support and always go to you because you know a ton about computers. And then there's the people that never go to you for free help because you're not wearing a shirt with a tech support logo on your nipple. Friend, if you are driving 100 km/h, you are driving 1 km per minute. Me, no, you are driving almost 2 km per minute. Friend, you high or something? That human blood is blue before it hits oxygen. which is why your veins are blue. This led to 5th grade me poking myself with pins for hours to see if I could see it change over from blue to red while my brother kept me at it telling me I wasn't doing it fast enough. God dang older brothers. I think if you were stabbing yourself for hours your brother won. I had an extended argument about whether or not Oregon Trail, the game, promoted communism. Like, this was like 20-30 minutes of arguing. Number. No it doesn't. You would say that, you freaking commie. At my old job, I'd gone to get something off the printer and when I got back to my desk the director came over to me and pulled me into his office for a word. Jenny, you need to make sure you're wearing shoes. I am wearing shoes. You weren't just then, when you walked to the printer. Yes I was. No you weren't. I saw that you weren't wearing shoes. Please make sure you're wearing shoes in the office. It's for health and safety. I was wearing shoes. No you weren't. Yes I was. I was wearing shoes. No you weren't. Why wouldn't I be wearing shoes? Why would I take my shoes off to go to the printer and then immediately put them on when get back to my desk? Listen, just make sure you're wearing shoes at all times. Baffled. I was wearing freaking shoes. That may top the shoes argument, in fairness. Yeah, but your boss is an adult, I assume. I was about 13 and me and my friend were watching TV at her house. An advert came on for Go Ahead biscuits. My friend said those taste disgusting. Yeah I agreed. Have you even tried them? Yes. I hadn't. But I didn't want to admit to my lie. No you haven't. Yes I have. Alright then. What do they taste like? Disgusting. You haven't even tried them. I have. This angered her. For some reason. So she slapped me. I slapped her back. That was harder she said. Hitting me back. Harder. I hit her back. Harder. We spent the next 10 minutes hitting each other, progressively getting harder and more violent until we'd both fallen off the sofa and were full on scrapping on the floor. There were tears and bruises. It was vicious. We didn't speak for about 2 hours after that until we eventually realized how ridiculous it all was and started laughing hysterically. Then we cried some more, and then we hugged. And that may top the shoes argument, in fairness. One day my girlfriend was a huge bee all day, treating me like crap, yelling at me, then finally saying well at least I didn't kiss another person while we were together. Dumbstruck, I asked her when this happened. She said yesterday at your friend's party. That's weird. I went to school then work then came over and we went to bed. It was at that point that we realized it was a dream. Thanks lady. A phone number I frequently call ends in 6272. I remember that by dialing NASA. Friends of mine vehemently disagreed and said I was dialing the wrong number. The correct number was Napa. They're the same numbers on the keypad. 666 spells mom, so it's really easy to remember what to dial to get that entry to come up on my cell phone. Me and my dad got into a yelling match about who farted in the car. There was only the two of us in the car too. He farted, and he won using the ill ground you over trumped card. Friend tried to put aluminium foil in the microwave. I, and literally every other person we asked, from friends to complete strangers, tried to explain that it does not end well. They strongly believed, and I quote, "It just makes a little light show in the microwave. Don't put metal in the science oven." Any of the rhetorical theoretical arguments my wife and I have from time to time. For example, we recently had an argument about how we would furnish the non-existent, hypothetical, 8-bedroom mansion we would live in if we were billionaires. She wanted it to be full of antiques. I wanted a stylish and futuristic, minimalist theme. My mom is super religious and superstitious, so whenever I would say something negative we would have to cancel it by saying cancel, cancel, cancel. So whatever bad thing we said wouldn't come true. So, one day my sister did something stupid and 12-year-old me said you are stupid and I hope you die. My mom heard me from the room and screamed at me, cancel it. Me. No. Mom. Cancel it. 3 times. Me. Fine. Cancel. Mom 3 times. Me. No. Mom. Cancel it. 2 more. Me. Cancel. Mom. 1 more. Me. Mom. Go to your room, you are grounded. Me. Cancel, cancel, cancel. I am sorry mom. PLS. Yay. I was vegan for a few years and joined a club type organization. We would swap recipes, talk about new products and just hang out. Most of the people were pretty awesome, but like everything, some were a bit loony. There was this one girl who thought all animals could choose to be vegan. In her opinion, a wolf could just decide one day I want to avoid animal products. So she would talk about wanting to go speak to wild animals about the benefits of a vegan diet. I tried to tell her that animals really couldn't just go vegan, and she suggested that we feed them soy-based meat alternatives. We all tried to help her understand that animals can't, and she refused to believe us. She eventually stopped coming to the get-togethers. Thankfully, she refused to own pets, so no animals directly suffered from her beliefs. They just had to listen to her talk when she went out converting. You absolutely should have encouraged her to go talk to grizzlies and lions. It may have been beneficial to everyone. My colleague and I spent half a day trying to decide what would be best, burp confetti or fart glitter. Thank you internet for giving us wonderful things. Burp confetti, fart glitter would get stuck in your pants. I had a computer science teacher who didn't know anything about technology. We got into arguments because she insisted that a degree in creative writing would be the best way to prepare yourself for an IT job rather than a degree in computer science. Creative writing could be useful when explaining to your boss why the code you wrote doesn't work. A couple of my friends and I all worked at the same grocery store when we were in high school. One day one of friends, we'll call him Sean, was bagging for me as I was checking out a customer. This customer had a pretty big order, which isn't a big issue, until I scanned her cucumbers. I'll never forget those cucumbers. Sean went to bag the cucumbers by laying them in the bag vertically, which 8/10 punctures the bag and causes it to rip and all the groceries to fall out. After the lady's order was complete, I told how to bag them horizontally, or at the very least at a diagonal. Now Sean didn't like this and we continued to argue until the next school day, where we got all of us who worked at the grocery store involved. For the next few weeks, those who sided with the vertical bagging scheme and the horizontal bagging mechanism either argued or straight up ignored each other. We never came to an agreement and still fight over it anytime it is brought up. Vertical bagging scheme and the horizontal bagging mechanism. If I didn't know what side you were on, this would make it so plain. My college roommate and I didn't speak for 3 weeks because of an argument regarding toilet paper roll placement. It started off as a discussion, then an argument, then to the point where he called my sister a W and I broke his wrist. Over. It goes over. All I can imagine in this argument. Over. Under. Over. Under. Over. Your sister's a W. Snaps wrist. My friend and I got into an argument over whether chocolate would kill my dog. Of course I was arguing that it would and he was arguing it wouldn't. Eventually he went home and I went to bed. Woke up to my dog vomiting violently under the bed. I could smell chocolate. That bastard. I rushed my dog to the vet and he needed to know how much chocolate my dog may have ingested. I called my friend but he denied feeding my dog any. He had 80% dark chocolate when he was over. My other friend was in the car with him when I called. He turned to her after hanging up the phone and said I might have fed him a couple of squares to prove my point. My dog ended up in intensive care at the vet for days, on an IV and carefully watched. He pulled through. The vet said throwing up undoubtedly saved his life. The stupid argument that almost cost my dog his life. Needless to say, I am no longer friends with that butthole. I had a very lengthy debate about whether or not you get receipts with abortions. Neither of us were in any form of relationship or pregnancy scare, and both of us were men. And I'm breaking up with you. April Fool's joke led to the real thing. Glad it did. Long version. Senior year in high school. He was a recent graduate. We had dated long before this and broke up for different reasons. Fast forward 1 year later, we confess our feelings for each other, blah blah blah. Well, we're together for maybe about 4 months, but we had been fighting over silly things and weren't speaking. He then texted me one morning before my first period class. Went as follows, if I recall correctly. Him. Gyps, if that remains, we need to talk. Me. Sure. Him. This isn't working. Me. What isn't? Him. Us. At this point I know it's an April Fool's joke, so I go along with it. Me. Oh, well, if that's how you feel. Him. Yeah. Sorry it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. Me. Yeah, me too. After about 2 hours I sent him a text saying I'm kind of waiting for you to say April Fools, but if you're not going to, let me know before I start to get used to this. He very plainly responds, I guess I chose the wrong day to do it. Well crap. I start telling myself all the reasons why I was better off without him. He was kind of a deadbeat. Cheated on me the last time we dated. Did see on weekends. He was almost 2 years older than me and had a crappy job and had no plans to go to college. He would have only served as deadweight. God, that's mean. He missed several college placement tests due to a hangover. Nice guy, but he was kind of patriarchal in a way. Never let me pay for my own meals or buy my own things and was very insecure. Talked about how we would get married one day and I would be a stay-at-home mom. I started to realize my feelings for him were only there because I thought since we somehow drifted back together after a year apart made it true love. Truth was I only wanted him because I couldn't have him. And now that I had him it just wasn't right. 30 minutes go by and he sends me, is it too late to say April Fools? Yes. We end up meeting up after school and at this point it was me cutting it off. I was planning to go off to college 8 hours away and I knew he didn't trust me and I knew the relationship just wouldn't survive. He says he understands but still tries to salvage it. I say no, I'm sorry, it's not working. He's a bigger mess than I am. Again, nice guy, but just wasn't for me. I hope he finds someone, if he hasn't already. TL. DR. April Fool's joke leads to epiphany. I once barricaded myself in the bathroom with my then girlfriend screaming at me and trying to break down the door over who got to cook potatoes that night. This guy who just got fired at my work. The argument was over quality of the work we do. He had for months been making stupid mistakes that basically boiled all down to a single root cause. He didn't care. He didn't care about what he was doing. He was there just to punch a clock. Maybe that's good enough if you just want to work at a Walmart or something, but we make structural steel and buildings, like the office building you're sitting in right now, or that bridge you drove over to get there. So you can imagine there needs to be a certain level of care and quality in what you do. Anyway, I'd found some more of his mistakes. Part of my job is to find issues before they become expensive problems, and showed the guy, so we can fix them. I try to be real nice about it. I try not to make him feel stupid, but he gives me this huge attitude and tells me not to check his work. I tell him it's my job and quality is everyone's business here. We are a small shop. Our clients give us repeat business because we output quality parts. He's almost 50 years old. He hasn't held a job longer than 2 years in his entire adult life. How am I the one who's got to have this conversation with him? How has he made it this far? He spent the next 2 hours of the day trying to badmouth me to the other guys in the shop. Someone complained to the general manager who promptly fired the guy. Well, as someone who drives over bridges and enters office buildings, thank you. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend at the time about freak occurrences and odd things that happen. She said at some point that, and I quote, uncommon occurrences happen all the time. They happen just as often as common occurrences. I tried explaining by their very definition. They can't. I tried explaining it nicely but she just didn't or wouldn't understand. And even after I tried to let it go, she kept bringing it up, getting angrier and angrier, accusing me of not seeing her side. The argument lasted a 2-hour car ride. When I was around 14 I got in not an argument with classmate about whether or not the sun was burning. I said it was not, because the definition of burning is a reaction with oxygen. Nuclear fusion is not. I could not convince him. His anger increased until he almost became violent, but I could not let this go. Some teacher overheard this argument and did send us to the physics teacher to solve the issue. When my daughter was 3, we were driving home together from the park and Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven came on the radio. She told me to change the station. It was a bad song. And I told her no, it's the best song ever, you should listen to it. She then proceeded to tell me I hate this song. I was like, you're 3. This is the best song ever. You don't know anything about it. Oh my god, I'm arguing with a 3-year-old. We got home and she took a nap. She's only 3 and has already heard it too many times. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.